Well, hey there, happy day 1105 of What You Up To Now. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here, documenting my journey as I transition from the brick and mortar world to the online world of business. In 2017, as part of my divorce, I ended up having to divest myself of all of my businesses with my ex-husband and decided that I was too old to go back to corporate America, too old to want to work for someone else, but I didn't really have an overwhelming drive or desire to go in any of the businesses or industries I had previously worked on. I'd always been curious about the internet and the online world, and so I thought, okay, here's my opportunity, here's my chance to jump in and see what this digital world, this internet thing is all about. And so over the last couple of years, I have created and done all kinds of things online, and my original intent was to duplicate my offline success in the online world. And I think maybe, especially with COVID-19 and everything, my actual overall purpose and intent in the online world is now different than it was when I first came online. But I'm still doing many of the same things that I found work for me and that I feel good about. For example, I do every day an idiom. I share it for my Supersize Your Business group. I work with a lot of small businesses and entrepreneurs. And one of the things I started doing as I was moving was talking about an idiom a day. You know, a lot of people talk about, and they have a word of the day or a word of the week or a word of the month. Some people like me even have a word or a focused area for the year. And I just started doing that a couple of years ago. I always had continuous improvement plans and things I was working on for my business and for my life, but I never consciously picked one thing that I really wanted to focus on and nail for the year until about, I guess it'd be 3-4 years ago now, probably 2018. Yeah, it was 2018. I did a 365-day personal challenge and shared it with other people to do one thing every day that scared me and stretched my comfort zone. And then the next year I did one thing every day that made me happy because I wanted more happiness in my life. Last year was perfect. Did one fun thing every day, and since I was hanging out with my 4-year-old granddaughter a lot of the COVID-19 pandemic, it was a perfect selection for 2020. Now in 2021, I found a couple more books. Actually cheated and started doing a series of books to do this, and I had do one thing every day, or do one creative thing every day, or do one thing every day that centers you. And I decided, instead of creating my own 365-day challenge, which is probably what I'll do next year, I would do one thing every day that centers me or centers you. And it's turned out to be fun and challenging. We're on day 37 today, and we got to, a process map, so I love those. And there's all kinds of things in it, but they're all things that give me a little stretch, that make me think about questions. They ask questions a lot, or have a quote or a saying, and then they ask you a question about that, or challenge you to think about and do something with respect to that every day. And for me, 2021, this is the perfect thing. It's the perfect time for me to be focusing on getting to know myself better, right? Understanding what makes me tick, and bringing a bunch of people along with me so they can learn what makes them tick as well. Because the better we understand ourselves, the better we understand how we work, how we think, how we feel about things based on our experiences, the easier and the better we are at changing that, improving that, or interacting with other human beings. And I don't know about you, but it feels like in this day and age, all of us need more practice interacting positively with other human beings. So today, you can't judge a book by its cover is why I thought of that, and then the 365-day Centering You challenge. Also, today was day 6 of the Get Up and Go 30+ day challenge. It's only a 28-day month. We started February 1st, but I'll go into March. We'll go a couple days into March with the challenge and decide then what we want to do next. I am kind of thinking, and I didn't plan it out ahead of time, but I'm feeling like called to do this challenge every other month this year. I think I'm going to do it every other month this year. And I was talking to a friend and mentor yesterday about why do I do this? Why do I do the Get Up and Go challenge? And am I doing it to build business, or am I doing it just to give back and add value? I am not doing the Get Up and Go challenge to build my business. In 2020, I saw a huge need to help people know what to do next, to figure out, because there was so much change and so many challenges hitting millions and millions of people. I mean, global pandemic will do that. At the same time, it was my way of not only keeping myself moving forward, but helping to bring other people to move forward in their life in the areas they need to, because it's different for each and every one of us in a positive way. And to me, it's about just giving value and giving back and teaching some of the tools and things that I've used throughout my very long life at this point to grow and become a better human being, a better person, because I think that's what we're all here for, is to experience this life as only we uniquely can and to become the best version of ourselves. And that happens through personal growth, personal development, continuous learning, reading, growing, and just practicing being a human being, getting out and interacting or getting online and interacting now with COVID, and just doing the best we can in every situation. And not beating ourselves up when we do something human or stupid and fail in that, because we all do. You know, it's like we have false beliefs or beliefs that we find out are absolutely not true. We've believed something for maybe 60 years, and then we find out, oh my God, that's a big fat lie. It's not true. It's certainly not true for me. I'll give you an example, and this might irritate some people, but it's a very real example. All of a sudden, in the United States, this thing called white privilege has been brought up in a huge way. And systemic racism has been brought up in a huge way. Every single one of us, every human being, in some way, shape, or form, prejudiced based on our past experiences, based on our current experiences, based on our beliefs, our feelings, our thoughts, everything that we've experienced in our life, and everything anyone else has told us or we've heard or read or seen causes us to have likes and dislikes and opinions about everything, because that's part of being a human being. But just because we are different, because we're all different, newsflash, every human being on the planet is different than every other human being. Think snowflakes. If every snowflake can be different, every human being absolutely positively is different and unique and special and amazing in our own way. So I don't think I've ever heard, I think I maybe had one conversation with a lady on a plane maybe 4 years ago about white privilege. And she didn't call it white privilege because the politically used term white privilege hadn't been invented yet. And so we were having a conversation about it, and she had really different experiences than I did. And I found it fascinating and very interesting. And a lot of the points that she made were absolutely valid, right? They were true. And from her perspective, they were facts. From my perspective, they were maybe opinions. But anyway, you look at it, I learned a lot from that conversation. But the conversations that we're having now aren't educational and learning and being more open-minded and flowing and understanding other people's perspective. They're all about shutting people down and calling them names and dividing and making us not like one another. And I think that is absolutely, totally, and completely unacceptable. Not only is it that, it's heartbreaking. It's ridiculous. It's outrageous behavior by anyone. And if you look at it, if you have even a modicum of emotional intelligence or personal development or personal growth or thinking for yourself or education, you see this evil for what it is. You see the false beliefs and false narratives that are being presented for what they are: absolute manipulative propaganda. So when I hear systemic racism, when I hear white privilege, all my brain tells me is it's just systemic evil. And I'm not going to have any part of it. And just because someone says, oh, you have white privilege because you have white skin, could there be a more racist comment on the planet? I don't think so. You know, racism is about not judging people based on the color of their skin. But if you're telling someone that because you're white, you automatically have white privilege, which is complete and utter bullshit, by the way, because there are many more very socially and economically disadvantaged white people than there are black people, even in America. So it got me to thinking about all this and why I want to be more centered and more growing and more positive and making sure that I'm putting positive messages out into the world, not hopping onto some of these negative narratives or getting sucked into these negative narratives that are being used not for the good of human beings. You know, the whole Black Lives Matters movement is a 100% political movement. It isn't about making Black lives better. It's about politically dividing people, and it's not okay. So enough of my rampage on the goings on around us, because they don't really matter, right? The things that are going on outside of us, they have a little bit of an impact, but for the most part, it's always up to us, 100% our responsibility to decide how we're going to respond to those things. So I'm going to respond by not participating and not adding any credence or value to these false narratives, these fake things. Or guess what? They might not be, they're true to a lot of people, but they're made up. Just like so many things, so many rules, so many beliefs, so many things, they're just made up. And we get to decide what we are or are not going to buy into. I am never going to buy into the BS that American people are at each other's throats and fighting and hate each other, because we don't. We love our neighbors. We love one another. We love this country. And that's what we're going to make sure happens and goes forward, no matter what's going on in the little political arena. Really, it's a small number of people that are trying to manipulate and cause a lot of problems for a big number of people. It's like gangs and bullies, right? A gang and a bully only has power when you allow them to get away with their unacceptable behavior. And I think we're to the point where people are just going to start saying, yeah, no, this isn't okay. And more people are going to wake up to that. And instead of being woke, we're actually going to be awakened to the truth and what's really going on in our world. And it's uncomfortable, and it's horrifying in many instances to see that true evil, especially when you come to the world from a perspective of you think everybody's good, you think everybody wants to make the world a better place, and then you are faced with absolute blatant examples of people that are just out for themselves. They're out for greed. I call it systemic evil. And they're not out to make the world a better place for everyone. They're only out to make the world a better place for themselves and maybe a few of their elite friends. And that's not okay. It's not okay. The world is for all of us humans, not just for a few that think they're better than anybody else. Okay, I'm off on a rant. I'm definitely off on a rant. Probably because I'm keeping my mind off my new grandbaby, who will arrive any minute now. My daughter's in the hospital and she's been induced. So we'll see. I expect good news and a new baby granddaughter anytime now. All right, have an amazing day. If I can help you in any way, I don't want to talk about politics. I don't want to talk about religion. I don't want to talk about sexual orientation. I don't want to talk about anything that doesn't add value to your life and mine. But if you've got a question about anything related to businesses, related to online or offline businesses, related to processes or systems, related to quality, or how do you possibly keep going during this pandemic because you're just stuck and you don't know who to ask, just hit me up in the comments below. Otherwise, I'll be with you tomorrow with less pontificating and more, I don't know, of a positive subject, I guess. Have an amazing day. Bye. Catch you tomorrow.